In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit.
Requiem for the woman who personified democracy in the Philippines, former President Corazon Aquino. Her family refused a state funeral, but this was a far from private affair. How could it be otherwise for the unassuming widow who ended up leading a non-violent 20th century version of the storming of the Bastille, now known as People Power? Tens of thousands of people gathered to bid Aquino farewell at her wake. Aquino had a very personal appeal. Everyone calls her Tita, or Aunt Cory. Former President Aquino will be laid to rest here, next to her husband, who was assassinated by his political enemies a quarter of a century ago. People here appear to be united in their grief for Mrs. Aquino, but the truth is that the funeral and wake are also exposing deep rifts within the political elite and society itself. This wake is the backdrop for a political drama, because Aquino was also the matron of a political dynasty. Battle lines are being drawn. The Philippines is only months away from elections, so it's made news that the Aquino family were apparently hostile to the current President Arroyo attending the proceedings.
I am not awaiting nor am I holding with bated breath whether she will or she will not. That is not a concern of mine.
Muslims in Manila are joining in the capital's grief. This lady says she thinks Aquino did many good things for Christians and Muslims alike and in uniting them. But 20 years after Aquino signed a peace agreement with separatist insurgents in mainly Muslim areas in the south, Philippine soldiers are still at war, and tens of thousands of Muslims are displaced by the fighting, being fed by foreign aid. United Nations figures show almost half the population lives on less than $2 a day. That's about 40 million people.
I believe in God, the Father Almighty.
In her later years, Mrs. Aquino carved out a role for herself as guardian of the spirit of people power. She spoke out against attempts by two presidents, including Arroyo, to extend their terms through constitutional change. Together with the Catholic Church, she once again tried to organize mass demonstrations. Now that she's gone, it's not likely that anyone else will be able to legitimize any more uprisings on Manila's streets.
Of course, she was a unifying force, and she would come out every now and then on very important issues. Now we're going to lose that. What we're hoping for now is that people feel it's so easy to depend on somebody when they're still around. And then you feel their loss, and now people have to stand up for themselves.
Aquino's funeral has revived memories of the Philippines' shining moment, and it could also set the tone for a potentially divisive political future. Veronica, Pedrosa, Jazeera, Manila.